Nearly $300,000 from group with hidden donors pours into Aurora Democratic legislative primary. I'm surprised and dismayed to see this very large amount of essentially untraceable mystery money coming into North Aurora and Colorado. Hundreds of thousands of dollars from a group that appears to be maneuvering to hide its donors is pouring into Democratic state Senate primary in Aurora, raising questions about the organization's intentions and how it may affect the trajectory of the race. Representation Matters has spent $271,000 thus far on mailers, digital ads, and canvassing to help Aurora attorney Idris Keith in his Senate District 28 race against State Rep. Mike Weissman. Keith has the backing of business groups, while Weissman is endorsed by a slate of his Democratic colleagues in the legislature, as well as union, environmental, and progressive groups. The district is so favorable to Democrats that whoever wins the June 25 primary will almost certainly win in November too. The big spending in the district, which in total accounts for about 20% of all the $1.7 million in outside spending on state legislative primaries reported through midday Thursday, reflects how much of an impact individual senators can have on how legislation fares in the Capitol. Over the past 2 years, progressive housing and drug policy bills have been blocked in Senate committees, where there is a 1 or 2 vote Democratic majority. There are a handful of Democratic legislative primaries where outside groups are spending money to help more moderate candidates beat their more progressive opponents. Weissman, a lawyer who served 8 years in the House, including as the chair of the House Judiciary Committee, is decrying the spending. I'm surprised and dismayed to see this very large amount of essentially untraceable mystery money coming into North Aurora and Colorado, he said. For 8 years as a representative, I have tried to go to bat for my district and my city, to stand up for working families, even if that means taking on powerful interests. In an interview with the Colorado Sun, Keith likewise condemned the infiltration of big money into our political campaigns. He highlighted how he's agreed to adhere to the state's voluntary donor limits, which allows him to collect larger individual donations, but caps his campaign spending at $141,950. Representation Matters, as an independent expenditure committee, which is similar to a super PAC, cannot coordinate with Keith's campaign. The Representation Matters mailers and ads seen by the Sun have so far all been supportive of Keith and don't attack Weissman. They feature photos of Keith with his children and say he will stand up to racism in state government and fight to protect women's rights. The ads have been featured on sentinelcolorado.com, with notices posted they are paid for by Representation Matters. Sentinel Colorado political advertising policy requires all political ads feature such a notice, but the advertising sales department does not disclose buyer details, according to Sentinel Colorado. Because of how Representation Matters was formed and funded, it's unclear who was paying for the group's work. The committee filed with the Colorado Secretary of State's office on May 20 with the express purpose of helping Keith get elected. That was 3 days after one of his pro-Keith mailers was sent out. State campaign finance filings show Representation Matters received $320,000 on May 22 from a different state spending committee called Brighter Colorado Futures. Brighter Colorado Futures registered as a committee on May 10 and received $315,000 from a federal super PAC called Democracy Wins on May 21. Democracy Wins registered with the Federal Election Commission on May 13, and it won't have to report its donors until July 15, nearly 3 weeks after the June 25 primaries in Colorado. When it reports its donors, it may be that it is funded by a political nonprofit that doesn't disclose where its money came from. The group's website portrays it as working to defeat Republican U.S. Rep. Lauren Boebert. All of Representation Matters' expenses to support Keith thus far occurred before the May 26 deadline, after which such spending has to be reported within 48 hours. That kept the group spending secret for more than 2 weeks after the first mailer went out. It's not atypical for large sums to be spent on legislative primaries or general elections in Colorado, but it always happens with a purpose. The funds often come from an issue group hoping to advance a cause or a wing of a political party hoping to expand their ranks. Since Senate District 28 is a safe Democratic seat, it's unlikely to be the latter.